Hello everyone, AmyR here with Prairie paper and ink, and I made two super fun little shaker cards today and I couldn't wait to share them with you guys. So I'm using the new Beary special birthday stamp set from My Favorite Things. My original intention was to only make one card and not even a shaker card, and then when I pulled out the stamp set and was looking at the dies, and I've told you guys before I don't like cutting apart my MFT dies, and I've done a quick tip video showing how I line up the images with all the dies using my MISTI, which I'm doing here. Yeah, I was like, I'm going to be stamping all these images anyway just to save myself the time, and then it's like, well, might as well use all the images. So I lined up all the images of the set with the coordinating die set and then used my MISTI to stamp it, and I'm inking it up with Simon Says Stamp Intense Black ink, and I was stamping them onto Nina Solar White 110 pound cardstock, and ended up needing to stamp them twice to make sure I got a fully stamped solid image with all of them. So once I had them all stamped, I'm going to go in and color them with my Copic markers. And lately, when I do coloring with Copics, I have been going sort of backwards. When I first started coloring with Copics, gosh, that was like 10 years ago. The idea was to go from lightest to darkest and back. And lately I've been finding I prefer starting with my darkest color and then working my way to the lightest. It just saves me time and effort, and I just like it this way. It blends and I don't have to go back and forth as much. So I'm starting with my darkest color and I'm using C4 as my darkest, so just cool gray number 4. And then I went in with C2 and then C0 to blend everything together. So I've got these fun little gray bears, and I'm doing them all the same color because that also saves me time when I'm doing multiple images. And these guys, I don't know how long it took me. I literally did them on and off all day today, just between the kids and, meals and playtime and all those different things. And more often than not, I can't even tell you guys how many times Gavin, he likes to kind of sneak into my little office in here. He thinks he's being clever, and he sneaks in and gets into all my stuff. And more often than not, while I'm coloring, I'm talking to the kids because they're all in here and we're just doing our thing. So this is actually quite a few jagged random videos that I've spliced together to share with you guys, because today was a little bit crazy, but it was fun. I actually got these all colored and the cards made after the kids went to bed is when the cards got made. So I did all the coloring, and like I said, I did all the bears first, and then I went in and did the little ears and their cheeks, and for those I just used R32 and R20. And I do all the same colors at once. That just speeds up the process. So my color combo in my head, I originally planned on doing like purple, green, and like an aqua sort of blue color. But when I got started, my mind started turning, and it was when I got to the cake, really. I started with the purple balloon, and that's where I used V15, V12, and V01. And I used that same color combo on the icing of the cake. And then I decided I didn't want the cake to be green, and I didn't want it to be blue either. And I couldn't figure out what color I wanted to use, and then it just popped in my head kind of to use sort of a peach color. So that's what I went with. So I'm using YR02, then YR00, and YR000. So instead of my aqua, purple, and green combo, it turned into purple, aqua, and peach. And I decided not to use the green at all. So I'm really happy with how this turned out. Normally, for whatever reason, like the whole aqua and green and purple is kind of just a combo I really, really like. And I, gravitate towards that when I can't think of what colors to use. But mixing it up a little bit and using the peach color this time, I was like, ooh, I really like this. And I really like these three colors together, just how they blended and just how they look. I was like, oh, this is a combo I need to use more often. So I kind of forgot about the purple there because I was obsessed with the peach and went in and did that instead. So I'm doing all of the areas that I wanted to color this peach color. And then I remembered, it was like, oh, I was doing purple. So I kind of went against my own little system and was doing like 3 things at once as usual, but that's just me. So I went back and started doing the purple again. And like I said, I started with the darkest, working my way to the lightest to blend everything together. And colored in the little gift with the bear popping out. And then I at that point completely even forgot that I was doing the icing on the cake. So then I went back and started adding the middle color to that. Because even then I'll add all the darkest areas first, and then go in with the middle color, and then go in with the lightest, and do everything all at once. It's just quicker and easier and just kind of streamlines everything. So once I got that purple back on, I went back and did all the peach areas that I wanted colored, and yeah, added all the darkest first, and then went in with that middle color and added that, and then went in with my lightest and blended it all out. And then finally I could go in and do my aqua blue color, and that I used BG05 as my darkest. So went in and added that to everything, and then went in with BG01 to start blending that out as my middle color. And then finally I used BG000 and blended that out completely. So I completely forgot to do the little candles, like the flames on the candles at this point. I will remember it later on. But yeah, just doing one thing. This was like right before one of the meal times today with the kids. So I got the coloring, was rushing to get this done before I started cooking supper, and then came back to it later. So once I was done with all the coloring, this is where I'm going to line up all the dyes, and I lined them up like I showed with the Misty, but now I can line them up with cardstock, and I just tape them into place with some micropore tape. Post-it tape would work too. Really, any tape will work. Just something to hold them just so that they don't shift at all when I run them through my Big Shot. Otherwise, all that coloring would have been for nothing. So got those all in place and then ran this through a machine, so I'm able to die cut all those images in one pass, which just saves me so much time and effort. So I've got all those popped out, and just, they're so cute. These images are just adorable. Yeah, so adorable. I love the whole Birdie Brown line from MFT. I think I own every single stamp set in that series. So got all my little characters, and then this is when I decided, I was like, I want to make some more shaker cards. I've been obsessed with shaker cards lately. I don't know why. They're just fun. So I used this is the Gift Box Cover Up Dynamics, and I'm just using the frame from this. It also cuts out, you can see the interior shapes with the stitched edge, but those I set aside. I can use those on a different card. I just wanted the frame for this card. And then I also pulled out the new Transparent Triangles background, and I inked it up with the Hero Arts Unicorn White Pigment ink. And I stamped onto 2 different colors of cardstock that go with my color combo. So I was using Periwinkle and Cement Gray cardstock from MFT. And the frames I had cut from Peach Bellini and Summer Splash cardstock. So just going with the colors I had chosen for all the Copic coloring. And inked up that stamp twice and stamped it onto those 2 pieces of cardstock with the pigment ink. And then I just used my heat tool to dry that ink because I didn't have time to set it aside and let it dry fully. Another thing I could have done if I wanted was I could have embossed it with white embossing powder, because then it would have just been embossed and done. But I didn't feel like embossing it. I didn't want it to be super bright white. I just kind of wanted that pattern there. So I just quickly dried it with my heat tool, and then I set those aside, and I grabbed a piece of transparency that I cut down just slightly smaller than the Gift Box Cover Up Dynamics. So it's just slightly smaller than 4 inches by 5¼ inches. And then I used my ATG to fully coat the back of each of these cover-up die cuts with my ATG adhesive so that I can adhere the transparency to the back of each one. So cutting them slightly smaller just makes it so much easier to line it up so that none of the transparency is peeking out around the edges. So I did that to both cards, and then grabbed my Scotch foam tape, the Big Daddy foam tape roll. This thing is huge. If you've never seen it in real life, if you ever order it, it is quite a pricey little purchase. It's around $40 something. It lasts forever. I've been getting a lot of questions lately how long it lasts. I can't tell you. I don't really keep track. I do make a lot of cards though, and you can see I use a lot of foam tape, and it lasts a long time. So I doubled up the foam tape. I showed this in a recent video. This is like a mind-blowing, life-changing trick that I wish I had known years ago. I would have been making a ton more shaker cards, and that's probably one of the reasons why I'm obsessed with it lately. I double up the foam tape, and then I cut it in half with my Tim Holtz scissors. These scissors are the best for stuff like this. They just cut like butter. So cut the foam tape in half so it would be a little bit narrower, but it's stacked up like that in 2 layers. So it was super quick and easy to back these frames with all the foam tape. And I coated all the entire frame, like each area I created separate windows because I wanted separate shakers for each little window. And I already had somewhat of an idea in my head how I was going to lay out both cards. So the windows that weren't going to have a character or an image in them, I added more elements of my shakers. So I used a whole bunch of sequins for my stash. And those that have seen my sequin stash know I have a lot. But I use Pretty Pink Posh Sparkling Clear Mix, and then I use some of their silver shimmer beads to give it that shaker noise, which I have them right here. Love that. It just finishes it off. And then the peach colored sequins are from the Craft Medley Princess pack, and then I add some Craft Medley, some purple ones from the baby pack, and then finally some Pretty Pink Posh Sea Breeze 4mm sequins. And I will have everything linked with descriptions as always. So yeah, if people miss some of the things I say in my videos, I do try to link to absolutely everything I use in the description box below the video, as well as on my blog. So once I had my sequins all in their windows, I pulled off the backing to the foam tape and then adhered the backgrounds that I had stamped to each card. And then of course I'm like shaking it up because it's fun. The shaker cards are just fun. So I did that, and then at this point I totally forgot I wasn't filming, but I had treated the same cardstock I'd used for the frames. I treated it with some anti-static powder tool, and then stamped the sentiments I wanted to use with Simon Says Stamp Clear embossing ink. And then I coated each one with some detail white embossing powder. And then I'm going to use my heat tool again to melt that embossing powder completely. And then I'm going to use the My Favorite Things Fishtail Flags Dynamics to die cut these. And the one die is an open die, so that was easy. I just lined that up over the sentiment and then taped it into place again with my micropore tape so that I got it die cut perfectly. But the second die I wanted to use, it's a smaller one from the set, and it's not an open die, it's a solid die. And I was like, crap, I'd already stamped and embossed this. How am I going to make this work? So actually what I did was just die cut a scrap of white cardstock with the die I wanted to use that window to line up the actual die that I wanted to use, and then removed the scrap of cardstock without moving the die so that it's in place, taped in place, and then die cut it. So that way my sentiment is now die cut, and then normally I would have die cut it, then stamped and embossed, but this worked just as well. So now it's time to adhere everything, and rather than mess around with all these pieces and adding adhesive to all of them, I pulled up my little Xyron Creative Station Lite. I've shown this in a few videos. I absolutely love this machine. I don't know how I did without it. So I started like sticking all of it. It's hard to film this, but I'm able to see right where they start to go through the machine, like to get adhered with the adhesive. So I'm just putting each piece in as the other one starts to roll through so that all these pieces and the sentiments get coated with adhesive. So you can see I just roll it all through here. So all the backs of these are getting coated with adhesive. Another little trick that is a total life changer is I use my dotting tool. I showed this in a recent video, and I go around the edges, because if you've ever used one of these machines, even the little X, with thicker cardstock like this, you end up usually with excess adhesive around the edges, and it's a pain in the butt to get rid of, and it's just kind of annoying. And it was one thing I really didn't like about my little Xyron X, and that's why I had stopped using it, was because of that. But by taking my dotting tool and just going around the edges really well with it, it removes all that excess adhesive, so it gets picked up by the backing paper, and there's no gumminess or anything around the edges. Love it. Like, I pull it off here, no more adhesive, it's gone. So huge difference. Even better than using the Teflon bone folder before. The dotting tool makes a world of a difference. So that's when I noticed I didn't color in the flames of the candles, so I used my Y15 for that. And I will have a picture on my blog with my little sticky note that lists all the colors I used. So that will be there if you are interested. And now to finally just adhere all these, I can just peel them off that paper. They've got completely covered the back of the adhesive from the little Xyron machine, so they're all basically like stickers. So I'm able to just peel them off there, adhere them to my shaker card, and then for the sentiments, I just flipped it over and trimmed off the excess. And I've got everything adhered other than those two little images, which I'm going to use on the inside. So to create my card bases, I have a full sheet of 8.5 by 11 heavyweight white cardstock. And I lined it up at 5.5 inches there and scored it with my Teflon bone folder. Then I rotated it and cut it at 4.25 inches. So there I've got both card bases done at once that are standard A2 size, so 4.25 by 5.5 inch card bases. And I always just fold them, line it up, and then press down that fold with the bone folder again, just so it's nice and crisp. And then I'm going to adhere these little shaker fronts to the card bases with my ATG adhesive. And once I've got both of those adhered, I'm going to finish the inside. So I grabbed 2 more sentiments from the stamp set, and I'm inking them up with that same intense black ink that I used to stamp the images. So I stamped the sentiment, and then I'm going to peel off the coordinating little image that I colored and press that onto the inside, and that finishes off both of these cards. So kind of somewhat mass producing techniques I used here to get these done, and total chaos. If you guys could have seen my desk when I was done, it was an absolute disaster. I made such a mess, but I had so much fun making these. These images are adorable, and the colors and everything. It was fun and happy making these. So as always, I will have links below the video to my blog post, links to the supplies used, pictures on my blog, all that stuff. Check that out below if you're interested. Thank you all so much for watching and subscribing, thumbs upping my videos, and all the comments. I read them all and respond to as many as possible, and I really appreciate it. And I will see you guys next time in the next video. Bye.